and we are live with Graham Long out in Australia. Thanks for joining us, Graham.
Thanks. Good to have a chat.
Great, likewise. And I guess we'll get straight into it. Maybe you could do a brief introduction for the viewers who are not familiar with you or your work.
Yeah. I'm Graham Long, Luthier at Gladstone Guitars and Ukuleles. It used to be Gladstone Guitars, but ukuleles have become very popular, so I'm back in with those. Started building in about 2006. Started learning to play guitar at the same time. I've been building furniture most of my life. My father was a chippy, so I've got a lot of tools and skills from him. And the idea of building instruments really appealed to me because they might be around longer than a piece of furniture, and a lot of people can get to play them. So that was the main driver. And from there, after I built the first one, people liked it. The second one, people liked it, and I like doing the work, putting the art side of it. I really like, and the technical side of it. What makes an instrument sound the way it sounds, and how to change it for the better. I'm not saying there's a bad sound from an instrument, just that some sounds are more desirable than others, depending on how you're going to play them. Whether it's a gypsy jazz guitar or a flamenco guitar or a steel string or a ukulele. They all have different sound attributes. So the technical side of doing that really appealed to me. Yeah, and I've been doing that since 2006, and I don't know how many made now. I'm getting close to 100 instruments. Each instrument takes around 200 hours. So I'm very picky. If I don't like it, then it doesn't go out of the shop. One of my good friends, I can really repeat the word here, but he calls me anal because I am too picky. I'm quite proud of that. But yeah, so been doing it for that long. Really enjoy the art side of it, enjoy the technical side of it, and working with customers, what they want.
Fantastic. And were you self-taught, or did you do a course?
I had a book from John Williams, which I still use, and I've since written a book myself, which was at a request of a men's group here in Australia, and it's blossomed from that. So I'm on the 3rd edition of that now, just doing some updates on it. But yeah, largely self-taught out of that book, and in latter years I developed a friendship with a much older gentleman by the name of Doug Eaton, who's since stopped making instruments because he was losing his eyesight. And I finished one for him that he had started and gave it back to him in appreciation for the help that he's given me. So yeah, it's largely self-taught. Doug, who is a very traditional builder, bending things around hot pipes and stuff, he calls me the jig man, because if I have to make something 3 times, I might spend half a day making a jig. Sometimes I might make 2 or 3 half days making the same jig to get it right. So to make work a bit easier and a little bit more precise. So yeah.
Great.
Sweet.
Great. That's great. And I guess being in Australia, we heard from Chris Wynn about sort of native tone woods, imported tone woods, and I guess being out in Australia, how is it sort of building guitars in Australia? And sort of what tone woods do you prefer to use?
Well, I ideally love Australian tone woods, but I'm not locked into just using Australian tone woods. I use what the customer wants. If the customer wants a particular look of an instrument, then I'll head that way. But Australian tone woods stand toe to toe with any other tone wood. So I don't favour them above others. I use what is best for the instrument that I'm making, or again what the customer requires. There's some Australian tone woods that have a bit of an affair with. Ringigi is one of them, Ringigi and Burdick and Plum. Some of the other wattles, Moree wattle, and of course Tasmanian blackwood. But Ringigi would have to be my favourite Australian tone wood. Very, very, very dense, tightly interlocked grain, and just beautiful to look at. The ringing or the curl or fiddleback in it is just something out of this world. Very nice timber. Yes, but it's not alone. As I say, I use lots of other tone woods.
Right. And do you find that most of the native tone woods tend to be more suited for back and sides or structural elements, such as fingerboards, bridges?
No. The ones I've mentioned have been like Burdick and Plum and all of the wattle, all the acacia species. Although I use Gidgee and Mulga and Burdick and Plum for fretboards and bridges and headstock veneers, all that sort of stuff. There are some really good Australian softwoods for soundboards. Kimberley pine is the first one that comes to mind. I've used a fair bit of that. It's a beautiful timber to work with. Ancient timber, seedlings when Jesus was a boy type stuff. So I use it very sparingly because of what it is. The other stuff, Carry pine is very good. Bunya pine is very good. They are Bunya and Carry are probably on a mechanical basis equal to, or in some cases a little bit superior to the spruces.
Right.
But the thing that they lack is the bling, the colour. You know, a new piece of, say, Adirondack spruce has got that really nice cream colour, and which has become traditional for the guitars. I mean, when you think of a good guitar, they normally dark back and sides with a nice bright spruce front. The Araucaria species in Australia tend to be a little bit of a dirty colour, sometimes having little not bird's eye, but little knot features in them like that. And once you get over that, they make very good soundboard. They made some really nice baritone ukuleles using Carry pine. Very nice, yeah, good sound. Yep. But,
Great.
Again, horses, of course, it's what you need, what you like. Yeah.
Well, what you mentioned that ringed Gidgee was your favorite back and sides. I guess. What's your favorite?
I use ring Gidgee mainly for fretboards, bridges and bindings, headstock veneers.
Right.
And I tend to keep, if I'm going to do an instrument with, say, ring Gidgee bindings, I will try to make all of the ancillary pieces out of the same timber. So the bindings, bridge, headstock, veneer, fretboard, they'll all be matched as best, and if possible, out of the same tree. So you get the same colour profile and same grain structure and the like. Yeah, so they're all match. Yeah. But in saying that, I've made quite a few Burdick and Plum instruments with backs and sides. Very nice. The problem with ring Gidgee is getting pieces that are big enough to make backs and sides because they're only small trees.
Right.
And get a piece with like an 8-inch span or a 200mm span to make a back plate. That's a huge tree, and it's out of the realms of most Gidgee trees. Yeah.
Got it.
They're much suited to fretboards and the like. Yeah.
Right. And I guess how's COVID affected your building?
Well, we've had a little bit in position in Australia, but nothing compared to the rest of the world. We are just so well off, and our state governments in particular have done a very good job. And we're in the throes of starting a rollout now for the vaccine, so that will come. We haven't had much in the way of problems here from an infection point of view. We've had one gentleman come here last week or the week or so ago that was infectious, but no one caught it from him, which was good. From a building point of view, it's meant more time in the shed because our traditional places that we go to, like the National Folk Festival and Ukulele Festival, all those have been cancelled, same as everywhere else in the world. So I spent more time in the shed making, and initially thinking I'll be able to make lots of stock instruments because nothing much will be happening. But this year I've had just lots of commissions, which has been good. So people staying at home, learning an instrument, like a bouzouki or a ukulele or a guitar, they want something better, something nicer, and they contacted me and asked me to make them something, which has been very good.
Great.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
That's fantastic. Maybe just a little quick segue into ukuleles, and that sort of you mentioned that you're building more ukuleles recently.
Yeah, I've built quite a lot of ukuleles. Yeah. And a bit of a disclaimer, my ukuleles aren't built like a normal ukulele. They're built like a little steel string guitar. And my steel guitars are all falcate braced. Full-size guitars are all carbon fibre reinforced. Some of the ukes I make are carbon fibre reinforced, just depending on what the specifications are to start with. But the vast majority aren't, but they're all falcate braced. They all have radius fretboards. They all have double acting steel truss rods. They all have individually shaped fret wire ends and double linings, and so they're about as far removed from a traditional ukulele build as you can get. They are just like the same technique that I use to make a full-size finger-picking guitar. It's just shrunk into a ukulele, and the sound reflects, because they sound like a classical guitar.
So it's right. So I was going to ask what's the difference in the construction of ukuleles compared to guitars, but I think you've answered that very eloquently. Perhaps, which means that I suspect that the time needed to make a ukulele is approximately the same as a guitar. Yeah,
approximately the same. Yeah, the real estate might be smaller. It's a little bit easier for me to polish, because all the instruments that I make have a nitrocellulose mirror finish on them, which accounts for about 30% of the build. So the ukuleles have the same number of joints, the same amount of work goes into them, just that the real estate is a bit smaller, so not quite as long to polish. But apart from that, the same amount of work. And if you add to that some of the aesthetic features like inlays and little fancy bits, it can easily blow out.
Right. And do you do much custom inlay as well?
Not a lot, but none by comparison to some of the American friends on Facebook. But I started out doing a fair bit of inlay, but the more I build, the more I feel that less is more. So I try to, especially with a customer, if I find a customer has a particular thing that they like, we'll develop some simple little inlays that tell the story, but don't overtake the instrument. You know what I mean? So they're there, but they're not there. So I don't do a lot of lavish, very complicated inlays, and I'd like to, but there's just a lot of work in doing that, and I'm really making instruments. Like Bo Hannon, he makes some really nice stuff and has some beautiful inlays. I think my instruments are as good, but I don't do the degree of inlay. He makes very, very nice instruments. But
Great. And I guess you're in the workshop at the moment.
You can have a look around. It's like most, in a bit of a mess.
That's okay.
Bear with me. I'll just have to put the camera on.
Yeah, sure.
Open that up. All right. Can you see?
Oh, yeah.
Righto. Machinery. I've got a couple of dust extractors. Both extractors have cyclones on them. Jet drum sander. It's the biggest, not the biggest one they make, but it's the biggest one that'll fit in my workshop. Little one. 14-inch buff. That's for final buffing of instruments. I've got a couple of bandsaws. Laguna 14-inch, used for doing resaw. So it's got quite a wide throat. There's a surfacer or a jointer sitting in behind that. Lots of wood everywhere. Different sorts of wood.
I love looking at wood. Never gets old.
Everyday bandsaw, which gets a lot of use. Jet bandsaw been very good. Linisher, that gets a lot of work too. A bobbin sander there, which also gets a lot of work. More wood. There's all different sorts. What we've got down there, Solomon, bit of Solomon Islands, ebony, Queen ebony, Solomon, very nice stuff. Hard as the hobs of hell. All sorts, tiger myrtles, ebony fretboards there, bits of emu apple, tiger myrtle.
Very nice,
Tiger myrtle. What else? Some black art sassafras, which is that's another Australian timber or Tasmanian timber. Very nice. That's
plum, right?
That's the same as Tasmanian blackwood, which is acacia meloxodon, but it was grown in Clermont which is central Western Queensland.
Mhm.
So grown in a completely different climate,
Mhm.
and you get it's a different looking wood.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but very nice. Just as I got a lot of ribbony patterns in it. I made a lot of instruments out of that.
Mhm. Graham, you mentioned something called Butterkin plum.
Burdekin plum. Yeah.
Is that? I presume that's pretty hard and dense.
Yeah, it is. It's very heavy. Just bear with me. I will find. It comes in a variety of colours. So that's whether you can see that. Oh, bloody heavy too. That's sort of the orange form of it. Doesn't really do it justice. You put a coat of lacquer on it, and it's got a lot of chatoyance, and it reflects back at you. Very nice and very heavy. Hear it? The weight of it. That's a slightly darker piece.
Right.
In there. Very nice. It's not commercially milled because there's not a lot of it around, but it. Just going to bear with me. I'll dig some out and show you. This. Oh, that's not it. There we go.
Much appreciated.
Yeah. That's the darker form of it. You wet that up. It's not black, but it's pretty close to it. Very dark. Yeah. What else? Yeah. Sort of, lots of shoe boxes. Lots of shoe boxes. Mainly because they're cheap. But each shoe box has, if I have some fancy little bits of figured timber, I keep all of those for doing inlays or headstock veneers or whatever else. So I've got lots and lots of different bits of timber.
Right.
Sort of piled up. Anyway. So there's that. Something I'm working on at the moment. I'm doing a bouzouki for a gentleman. That's
very nice. That's great.
A-string bouzouki, and it's made out of. That should be a bit of a giveaway. You can see it there. You know what they are.
So it's a bog oak. Looks like.
Yes, it's bog oak. Yes, exactly. Yeah, so it should be nice. So it's a bouzouki, if you like.
Right, guitar bouzouki. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's going to be the headstock for it. With a bit of redwood on the back. Yeah. Anyway, so it's there, and another bouzouki here, another commission. It's torrefied Adirondack, Indian rosewood, and this is the headstock for it. That's the letters on there are made out of mammoth tusk, and the trequenta is gold mother of pearl.
That's nice. It's lovely.
It's it's curly American maple, but it's torrefied. The back, that's a bit of normal curly. It's a bit hard for me to, but the camera's offset, so.
Yeah. We're getting a great view.
Right thing. Yeah.
We're getting great view. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
So anyway, that's a uke that's being sprayed at the moment. It's made out of they're both Australian woods. That's ringed budgeroo is the fiddleback stuff on the outside, and the two sections in the centre are mulga. And Adirondack spruce front, some ringidgy segments in there, more ringidgy up there. A bit hard to see. Anyway, we're better looking at some finished instruments.
Yeah, well, I think thank you very much for the tour and pulling out some pieces of wood for us to have a gander at. I know time's getting on, so maybe we'll let you get back to work, and we'll catch up real soon for the to take a look at some of your finished instruments.
Right, mate.
Okay.